Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Lost in Translation Mon. This time we're covering Digimon lore, such as the Digimon WonderSwan games. We'll also be doing a dimensional overview, discussing a bit of Frontier lore, and we'll be also giving a bit of a prediction and hopes and wants for the continuation of Colon, which will be going on next week, and for the next, obviously, 36 episodes after that. I'm letting Quinn steer this ship today because Quinn is more versed on the WonderSwan games, and also I feel really lazy.
You have made a terrible mistake.
I have made... No, I'm sure it's a good mistake. It's like, not all mistakes are terrible. This one's a good mistake, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm lazy.
You may need to refresh me on some of this, but I have done a deep dive before, and so I'll go as accurate as I can with some of that. But anyhow.
Yeah, anyhow. So, obviously, I am joined by the lovely Quinn.
Hi.
And the equally lovely Stevie.
Hello.
With that, on to the show. Before I let Quinn take the helm of the SS Lost in Translation Mon, I just want to ask everyone, what are our familiarities with the WonderSwan games, if we have any? So, for me, obviously, back in 2015, I covered, did a brief overview of the WonderSwan games with Jay, as sort of a bit between our coverage of Adventure and Zero Two. But also, I more or less finished Anno Tamer for the first time myself last night. Unfortunately, I'm only sort of finishing it because when I got up to the final boss, which is Millenniumon, and the internal memory battery on the cartridge must have just decided that it was time to go, and my save just deleted. So I beat Piedmon yesterday, and I was getting really excited. I was enjoying all the sprites, especially Meramon's, because it looks like Meramon looks like, who's the fire guy in Fantastic Four almost? I don't know, it looks really
Human
cool.
Torch.
Yeah, he looks like the Human Torch. Like, I don't know, it's just really fun. All the sprites
got
are fun.
invaded by Zuumon.
Basically, yeah. But it was really tragic. Like, and I can't be bothered fixing the battery. I'm just saying, well, I guess close enough. Like, I can't be bothered replaying it.
No, it's
something.
It's not really worth the time it would take to replay.
And also, I'm fairly certain Anode and Cathode Tamer are the least heavy in script and plot.
Yeah.
There's
Anode,
a lot of story
Cathode
at the
Tamer,
start.
and that's a good place to start, is, so not much important happens in it. It was, I think, meant to be left ambiguously canon, because it was all a dream thing at the end, because, they didn't know they were going to get 5 sequels.
Yeah, well, I mean, I also, just to finish up my playthrough, I just read a script on the website that I sent you yesterday, Quinn, which is it's Remember Yesterday, but for some reason I always call it Beyond Yesterday. I don't know why.
Beyond Yesterday would have been better, but what a weird website.
It's a very, this website is very much, looks like a relic of old websites at the start of
it's barely Web
century.
2.0, yeah.
Yeah, so they show up. Rio is back home, and his parents are there for starters, which is weird because his parents also his dad shows up in Tamers, and Rio's father says, are you okay? It seems like I haven't seen you for a while, and you've already grown up so much." So it's kind of left in the sort of way of the Polar Express, how he thinks it's all a dream, and then he finds the bell that
it's definitely a thing where if we had just never made another game and Adventure had just never acknowledged that it happened, then we could go, yeah, sure, that's canon, that's fine.
Yep.
Like we mostly did with the last movie of Digimon the movie, the last third. We're obviously never going to talk about Willis again.
Or the end of the original Adventure series, where they sort of just say, "Oh, I know we'll meet again." Like it's sort of like an open-ended.
Yeah.
We could definitely go somewhere with this, but So before we continue, Quinn, have you played all these games before?
I have not. I played the first one several times, and then I played the second one once. But that was before I had really learned Japanese, and I have not had the time to make it happen. I'm told that they are all translated now. I don't know if that's true. I'm told that there are patches for all of them now, but I have not ever tried to verify that.
Well, at the very least, the I keep on calling Beyond Yesterday. What is it called?
Remember Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That website has the scripts for all the games, so
That's true. The
even-
translation is kind of rough, and it's hard to keep context in mind, but it's...
I think they have notes at the bottom that sort of
yeah.
are like translators' notes.
Yeah.
Like they have a lot of different ways of saying you, and like things like insulting plural you. This is the Kansai dialect, and then just sort of explanations like that. And yeah, so which is kind of cool, but it's definitely there if you wanted to read the script of it. There are also screenshots. And Stevie, you haven't played the games and you don't know the general plot.
I have vague recollections of reading the wikis about like Millenniumon and Chimeramon and time travel, and I kind of just gave up.
There's a lot of that. Yeah, well, it's very fair enough to give up because it sure is a lot. Like there is a lot of the first one's fairly, like I was surprised how short it was.
It's
like,
very
I picked it
nothing.
up, yeah, I picked it up like 2 days ago for the first time in like, or I'd say a year, and I was like, okay, I'm up to this part. I wonder how far into the game I am because I just want to make sure where I am. So I look up where the dungeon where Dokugamon shows up because that's the last one I fought, and apparently it was like the second last, or the third last dungeon. So it was next to was Piedmon. So I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
I almost finished. It was very short.
It very much just kind of ends.
Yeah. But you fight Millenniumon, and Millenniumon doesn't have as much as a character in this as he does in the other games. So I'm looking forward to starting Tag Tamers, which I will start at some point. But yeah, Quinn, take it away.
What are the names of all the games? Because I only know like 3.
Alright, so in order, so it starts with Anode or Cathode Tamer. They did a Pokemon Red Blue thing. The only difference is the Digimon that appears at the start. Like, I think it's like Shellmon or Kuwagamon. And also the Digimon that appear in certain dungeons. I picked Anode because Airdramon's in it. However, I never actually caught Airdramon. Because you can catch Digimon in this game by using your Digivice, which the game does not really explain to you. The game doesn't really explain a lot of the mechanics, so you kind of have to...
The mechanics are kind of interesting, but it is not well explained to you, especially that, like, certain enemies just have an invisible, like, boss flag on them, where, yeah, no matter how hard you try, you can never convert Devimon. Makes sense, but it's really unclear which are which.
Yeah. So then the second game is Tag Tamers, which has, this is the one where Ken shows up, and basically there's a bit of disconnect from the series because at the start of the game, he's with Ken in like his bedroom watching the Omegamon fight, and we know from our war game that we see Ryo, but Ryo is in a mountain like area with someone who is not Ken. Mm-hmm. And this is just because the writers didn't actually communicate with each other in, traditional Digimon fashion, where they didn't communicate about where they wanted them to connect. So Ryo was watching it in the mountains, but in this game he was watching it with Ken. So it's more or less seen as like, this is the moment where Ken became a chosen because he was one of the children like Miyako who witnessed the Omegamon fight.
Yeah.
And then the next one is D1 Tamers, and then the last one is Brave Tamer, and Brave Tamer is where
things get weird.
It connects. Yeah, like he fights like the original computer or something.
Yeah,
and
I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah, and this is where the Adventure Universe and the Tamers Universe sort of connect, and this is when he gets sent to the Tamers Universe, and also how Millenniumon basically becomes Ryo's partner. But I guess Quinn will cover that.
Yeah, like,
so you know how in
wild.
Tamers, how Crusadermon is super just out of control and crazy and needs a whip to be controlled and is just totally having a bad mood?
That's why.
Yeah, that's why. Like, Monodramon is Ryo's Digimon in these games, but he gets, like, merged.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. So
we'll get to all that.
Like, yeah, so it's nice that they actually have a reason why Crusadermon is just completely out of control. And it's, I guess, another Easter egg for the people who play these games.
Mm-hmm.
Is Crusadermon Justimon or Cyberdramon?
Cyberdramon.
Oh, I just said Crusadermon. I meant Cyberdramon. I don't know why I said Crusadermon.
I was
you got what I meant.
confused too, but I was going to let you go with it. But yeah, Cyberdramon.
Yeah, sorry.
And then, as Justimon, they're fine.
Yeah, because
Crusadermon
Ryo's
is
in there
kind
too.
of just like Fem Justimon.
Yeah,
You're not
basically.
wrong.
I don't know. But yes, so sorry about that mix-up. Yeah, I did mean Cyberdramon. Cyberdramon's completely out of control because he's Millenniumon. Also, Millenniumon, I'm not sure if this is just because I haven't played the rest of the games yet, the overview that I used, but is Millenniumon called Millie throughout the games or something?
I
like as
believe
an affectionate
so.
term?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, I'm not sure if this is just all the recaps that I've read, like, shipping too hard, but, like, does Millenniumon have a weird crush on Rio? Because that makes
Yeah, no, they very explicitly by the end are getting into some weird romantic shit, which if you ask in fanfic land is a whole thing.
That makes Justimon very weird then.
Even weirder than it already was, yes.
Yeah.
With all those
It's
views into naked children inside of... Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright,
Yeah, so that's the thing.
So let's start with the first game, just kind of give a general view. Let's start with how Millenniumon came to exist, which I think is not explained until pretty near the end.
And it's pretty cool, and I think it's
the most Digimon thing, and I love it.
Yeah, and it's also why, more or less, we're covering the WonderSwan games, because of how excited I got about the fact that Millenniumon is going to be in colon, because it sort of sure does imply a lot of things because of the way Millenniumon came into be. But yeah, go ahead, Quinn.
Alright, so we're going to start with, there is possibly a circular time thing going on here to begin with, because we need to start with, why can't I think of the name? Chimeramon.
Chimeramon? Yeah.
So Chimeramon, it's unclear if there are two of them who are unrelated, or if Ken, the Digimon Kaiser, created Chimeramon, and then when we defeated it on screen in O2, it actually time traveled. Because either way, it then also, while dying, time travels, even potentially a second time, unclear, back to before adventure, to the end of the Dark Masters arc, and permanently progresses together with a dying Mugendramon to create Millenniummon.
I know, I think it's the other way around. I think the Mugendramon goes and progresses with Chimeramon, and...
You may be right. It's been quite a while. Either way, time travel happens.
Yeah, I want to jump ahead and just mention the bit you said about Chimeramon and being created by Ken. I know that the Dark Seeds were made by Millenniummon. Mm-hmm. Like, that was like when you defeat him in Tag Tamers.
Yep.
This is just what I've read, but the Millenniummon created the Dark Seed and was meant to put it in Rio, but put it in Ken instead. Ken took it instead.
Ken took the bullet.
So I think there's like some... Millenniummon wanted to be created, so to do so, he had to create the Dark Seeds, so Ken created Chimeramon under the influence of the Dark Seeds.
Yeah, no, so it's a whole thing, and you have to just accept that Millenniummon created Ken, who created Millenniummon, and then also Rio is involved as a potential romantic partner. Things get super wild very quickly in these games.
Yeah, things escalate. Like, the first one is, like...
I have absolutely no idea who approved these scripts, but I would love to have a conversation about it. And just ask how this happened.
Yeah.
Just how this exists.
Well, I think somebody wanted to just ship Digimon with humans really, really, really hard.
A lot. It's so much. And just really loves time travel.
It also seems like fanfic. Like, Rio is just hanging out
Rio
on...
is so very Mary Sue, and I'm pretty here for it, if I'm being honest.
I'm definitely... I mean, I've always said, what do you call a male Mary Sue? No, it's not a Gary Stu, it's the protagonist.
Yep.
Because it's very much just like, it's New Year's, and he's just starting up his new computer, and he's on, like, IRC or something, and... he's talking to his friends, and they're all like, hey, do you remember that guy called Taichi? Yeah, he said there was some Digimon. Hey, do you remember that? Yeah, that was wild.
I forgot about that part. Oh my god. Yeah, no, the people on the message board who I think people have tried to, like, yarn on a board conspiracy theory connect to the wider universe as being, like, actual partners and of chosen children and such. That board is just really weird. Wild. It's just him talking to a bunch of people and just like, hey, do you remember Taichi? Yeah, I bet he uses IRC.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of them was like, hey, wasn't all that stuff just like an earthquake or like a terrorist attack? And then someone said, oh, no, I heard it was because of Digimon. Yeah, what was that guy? Yeah, it was called Taichi. Like, it's such a nice, like, sort of tie-in, but it feels so very fanficky of, like,
The idea that
self-insert
Tai
character.
just went around and told a bunch of people about Digimon, but
Yeah,
later
he just,
also
like,
Try
yeah.
happened, and he's bummed because no one remember. You know what? Actually,
Well,
no, I like it. Everyone forgot about Digimon, so Tai got bored and just started telling stories about Digimon.
Well, that's my favorite thing from like the Try Abridged series, and like there's two background characters, and the Abridged series puts in the lines of like, "Hey man, what's up? Oh, just pretending Digimon don't exist."
No, just
because
not
they
remembering
don't-
what a Digimon is.
Yeah, they just nobody acknowledges that Digimon exist, even though they would have seen them in Adventure and then again in Zero
Multiple
Two, and also the
times.
movies.
Like, you
It's-
saw it on
it's wild.
television. Okay, fine, all the data got corrupted. That
Yeah.
explanation, like the idea that no one looked into that.
Yeah, and they just said it was like an earthquake, despite a demon with a crotch demon was just hanging out in Odaiba. Like, oh, don't worry, that's just an earthquake. This is normal. This is fine.
don't
Like,
believe
it
your
it is
lying
so
eyes.
weird.
Alright, so
Like,
moving on a
yeah.
little bit. So yeah, Rio does get sucked into the universe because the universe decided that he had spent too much time on IRC, which
Yeah.
I mean that's fair. That's fair. I'd rather
It's a mood.
Yeah.
It's a 1999 mood.
So he very quickly gets told that he does not have his own Digivice, unlike everyone else, and instead he is lent Taichi's Digivice along with Agumon.
Yep.
And Rio
Yep.
comes
Wait.
with some weird restrictions. Yeah, he's very
So-
fanfic.
So he's just given Taichi's like
So
Digi-destined partner.
everyone except all of the kids and all of the partners except Agumon were kidnapped. So we need Rio to go rescue the Digi-destined. Like definitely
Where's
not
Taichi
fanfic, totally
during
canon
this?
people do. He's been kidnapped.
No, Taichi.
Only
yeah, they've all
Agumon
been
got
kidnapped.
away.
Yeah, Agumon
Somehow.
Yeah, but don't think too much into it because don't worry, they all get memory wiped.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Agumon
Except for
doesn't
Rio.
matter.
Yeah, it's fine. Your Agumon is invalid.
Ah. No.
But yeah, continue.
So then we move on. So yeah, Rio has to play by different rules from everyone else. He does not have his own specific Digivice or partner because he's borrowing Taichi's. Instead, he can use it like we did against Leomon and just to make all the Dark Gears come out. And it just makes Digimon good again. And apparently being good means working for Rio and never questioning orders.
Yeah, but I kind of like this. I kind of like that it's a mechanic that you use against Leomon in the show, and it never happens again.
No, it's such
Like-
a weird thing to tie in that could have been such a useful mechanic.
Like, I'm so, like, people always say that these games are bad, but I actually really, really enjoyed Anno Tamer. Like, I really like the battle mechanics. I like
the game
the
is
Final Fantasy
weird
Tactics.
and could probably be remade so much better, but for like a Wonder Swan color game with a budget of $0, it's a
Oh, no, I
pretty
think
good game.
The first two games I think were Wonder Swan, like not. I mean, I played them on a Wonder Swan color, but they were in black and white.
Oh wow, so even more so, yeah, like fitting this much
it's a good
plot and surprisingly detailed sprites into not even a Game Boy game.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of like the sprites are great. Like
It's so detailed for the time.
the only issue I have with the Wonder Swan is that they released 3 different Wonder Swans: the Wonder Swan Color, and the Wonder Swan Crystal, and none of them are backlit. Like I
Yeah.
actually
You can mod them.
completely wrecked. I wrecked my first Wonder Swan because I decided I'm going to put in a backlight, and then I accidentally soldered the 2 of the pins that connect the cartridge together because you're actually using the pins that are near
Yeah.
the cartridge. So
Yep.
yeah, but
That's
yeah,
a shame.
so I like the game.
Anyway, yeah, so these ancient Wonder Swan games contained a surprisingly weird plot, but it was written by, I mean, I have no idea who, but someone who clearly, like, really liked this idea from Adventure and just decided to give it some serious love. And so you recruit an
Yeah.
army of Digimon. It's very Pokemon in that manner, but you can't evolve any of them, but they can level up and get stronger. So it's very
They can kind of evolve. They have these things called variables where depending on what Digimon that you have in
That's
battle,
true.
they can just it's more or less, it's not really evolving, it's more like they cast a spell that summons a Digimon, but it's called a variable,
Okay, but
which is not
they can't evolve in the hacker's memory sense of
traditional
just,
sense.
permanently
No.
changing forms.
Well, none of the Digimon can, but which makes
Right.
sense because it's not Ryo's Digivice, so
Right,
that
no,
completely
it
makes
does.
sense.
It's an interesting artifice that they just don't
Yeah.
explain in this first game, which is also
Another thing I just
interesting.
want to jump in and say, because I'm a huge Virtual Pet fan, they actually also released a little adapter that goes into this the adapter port, where you can basically put a whole bunch of peripherals in. I think like the Game Boy camera, but on crack. So they basically made this thing that was to be connected to a Digimon Digivice or Virtual Pet. So it had those two prongs, and it connected into the port. So one of the first WonderSwan games for the Digimon series was just a Virtual Pet on the WonderSwan, and that came with it. But also all of the WonderSwan Digimon games, I'm pretty sure all of them, at least all the Ryo ones, have the ability to fight any of the Digimon that you've captured. Oh, that sounds cruel, like befriended? That sounds better. And actually fight them against your real virtual pet that you actually do have by using this connector. And so that's pretty neat.
That is cool.
And so, yeah. And that was something that, a lot of people who like virtual pets really appreciate about the WonderSwan, that you can basically just battle with it. Like, that is really cool. Mm-hmm. In fact, in Anno Tamer, I'm not sure about the other games because I said I haven't played them yet, there is a Digimon pendulum that is just inside a cliff. Huh. And you approach that, and then that's when you can battle your virtual pet. So that is super cool, and I just wanted to bring that up while we're more or less still on the topic of befriending these Digimon, because that's sort of something you can do with them. You can connect them to any of your two-prong devices, and I think that's pretty neato. Continue.
Yeah. Right, so where were we here?
He's just befriended Agumon because he was chosen, but not actually chosen. He wasn't a chosen child.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Anyway, you meet Genai. Genai is the one who explains this to you, and then Genai, in his usual fashion, doesn't help.
Yeah. He gives you lore, and then leaves.
Yeah. But in truly Genai fashion, he quotes Futurama and goes, I will leave you now. I live here, so I won't actually be going anywhere. But you don't have to talk to me anymore.
Yeah, basically. Which is very Genai.
So, when you do that, you can head outside and you can start fighting Digimon and using your Digivice to collect them, because you just wander into these little battle areas where you have to fight each one and win each battle in succession in order to get to the final boss kind of thing.
Millenniumon has basically resurrected all the bad guys from the original adventure.
Right. For reasons that don't matter, he can resurrect people.
Yep. Which is super cool.
Yeah, and also they all work for him. See.
And also, doesn't Edamon come back, but not Metal Edamon?
I believe so.
Which is just... he just liked Edamon a lot better. Well, he just resurrects a bunch of the bad guys from the season. I don't know. I like it.
On a note that will matter later as you fight through, I'm just going to skim through these because the plot doesn't matter. It's very fanfic, especially this first game. You fight through, and one of the only things that matters here is that the evil Digimon you're fighting against are like hella explicit, violent. They Devimon explicitly says he's going to cut off your head and serve it to Millenniummon on a platter, and he gets some PTSD from this. Like, this will matter in a later game.
Like, yeah, if you wonder why Ryo is just like Ryo in Tamers, like, I think he's got some damage. Like,
yeah, he comes off as just
things.
Edgy if you don't have some background for him, but he has some trauma that the best way he could work through it was to flee to another universe.
Also, sorry, I'm interrupting one more time. The fact that a Pokemon isn't resurrected is so great. Like, I'm so happy a Pokemon doesn't get resurrected by Millenniumon, because he wouldn't make sense to be, because a Pokemon is made up of other Digimon who got really salty about dying.
Yep.
So I don't know, the strongest one to get resurrected is Paimon, basically, and
That-
Paimon is like the second last boss.
Yeah, that, and I think just Armageddonmon just doesn't... I don't know, I feel like you don't have to go up a step after you invoke the Armageddon.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so yeah, you fight your way through. You first fight Devimon, I believe, then Edamon, Vamdemon, and then maybe just Paimon. I forget if you fight any of the other Dark Masters.
Yeah, it's just Paimon next. Even though they've all resurrected. Well, obviously not Mugendramon. Mugendramon's already hanging out inside Millenniumon.
Yeah, Pinocchimon, I think, doesn't appear, but, presumably did come back.
Yeah.
As you fight your way through, each time you get annoyingly reverted back
Pico
to Genai's
Devimon.
house.
Pico Devimon, but doesn't... he's not really a bad guy. He kind of just comes
he's
along
just there.
to...
Yeah, he's your guide in a weird way.
Yeah, he kind of just shows up to give you a little bit more. Like,
He's
he's just
the
like,
owl
hey,
in
you
Ocarina
won.
of Time.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so you cruise through. It's a fairly short thing. So there's only like 4 areas, each of which have like maybe 6 fights to them. And they're all kind of interesting tactical based fights where
I love it.
there's a neat rock paper scissors of air, ground, and water types being good on different terrain, which is kind of neat.
The game never tells you, though.
The game doesn't really tell any of this to you. It especially doesn't explain that Digivice to recruit evil Digimon thing, where you can't... Every time you use it, a counter resets to 0, and every time you attack, it goes up by some number between, 3 and 7.
Yeah.
Once it gets over 100, you can then attempt to recruit a Digimon, or you can keep ticking it up until 255, at which point you have a much higher chance of recruiting successfully. Which is just a weird mechanic that is not explained at all.
Oh, I think it might be. There's an area where a tree and there's a bunch of leaves, and you can read the leaves and it's got hints.
Yeah.
But I don't got no time for they removed all the tutorial aspects.
There
which
just
is kind
isn't
of
a tutorial
I like
unless
that.
you go read the tree. Go figure it out. Get
and
good
no
scrub.
one. I already figured it out. By the time I found the tree, I already I already know how to play.
I remember it
no,
being
it's,
confusing when I was a kid, and then trying to read the tree and going, God, well, the tree is not explained well.
Yeah, oh no, it's explained very in 4 lines, so
Yeah.
it's not it's not super good. But old games, I don't think they explained mechanics as much as newer games. I remember a lot of older games where they just okay, they'll figure it out.
Yeah. Each time you defeat a big bad, you save... Is it just the Digimon, or are the kids there too? I think it's the kids too.
The kids are there because I remember Joe being there and being Joe.
So anytime you save them, the partners stay and help you, but the kids all just go home and tell Rio to handle it.
Yep, basically they don't help.
Yes,
They're
they
we
come along with
be-
their functioning Digivices and ability to evolve, but instead, here, have my non-useful partner, who can't evolve anymore.
Yep.
Bye. Yeah, so the last person that you save is Tai, because obviously you could otherwise just give him back his Digivice.
Yep.
AU, where Tai is the first one you save, and then Tai just goes off and fixes the problem.
Oh, I don't want that.
Yeah, no, there's not a lot to it. Very straightforward game, and then Rio goes home. He still doesn't have his own Digivice or anything, which surprised me as a kid that he didn't get given a Digivice but no partner yet or whatever. Instead they leave it on a really ambiguous there might be another game note, because they're just he seems more mature. His parents, who definitely didn't get retconned out of existence later.
Yeah.
And was that just the first game?
That's the
Yeah,
first
that's
game.
the first game.
But that's
We've
also
been
the only
recording
one that
for
most of us...
38 minutes already.
Yeah, that's...
Well, we spoke a lot about in-between stuff.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of background that now we kind of don't have to.
That's
Yeah.
good.
The second game is worth talking about a bit, and then the third and fourth are semi-nothing. until we get to the end of Brave Tamer. So
I
anyway,
think D1 Tamers, like, I don't remember anything that happened in D1 Tamers that's actually important to everything else.
let's see.
There's like a
Rio
tournament
finally
or
gets
something, but they
pissed
all-
off at the end. There's the tournament arc that turns out to
Yeah.
be just everyone in the universe lying to him.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. So anyway, you save Ty. Everybody goes home. Rio is the only one whose memory doesn't get wiped, which is so weird. What a
Yeah.
wild decision that I don't think they explained. And then that's it. So that brings us to Tag Tamers. Now, Tag Tamers happens, as we mentioned earlier, immediately after the Omegamon fight in our wargame.
Well, the first part of it, like the prologue sort of thing, is the Omegamon fight. Like,
That's true,
Rio's
too.
like, let's send some email.
Yeah.
Like, it was actually Rio's idea, according to this game, that they send the email.
Oh, of course
Yeah.
it was.
Oh, right, because it wasn't Willis anymore. But yeah, so...
Oh,
Some
it
Australian
is.
kid.
So these two fuse into Omegamon, etc. And then Rio and Ken are told that they are needed in the digital world. And Rio is given what I believe will later turn out to be Ken's D3, because the poor kid can't just get his own anything.
He also gets Vmon in this game.
He gets Vmon. He gets to partner up with Vmon before Daisuke does. Vmon just no longer remembers it. Which is pretty wild to me.
Also, I'm just reading the script. When Vmon says, "Hey Rio, let's start. What do you say? The other children haven't come yet. It's fine if it's just me and Rio attacking, right?" Like, is he just totally just referring to the fact he's just hanging out waiting for the 02 Chosen to come?
I think he's talking about the fact that Ken isn't there, because Ken's going to be on the other side of the planet, and they just didn't translate it very well.
Okay. Oh, okay. What a shame. I thought he was just hanging out waiting for Daisuke. It's like, well, Daisuke's pretty
I
trash
mean-
anyway.
That's also what Agumon did. We apparently do a lot of waiting and tossing Digivices around. Unless you don't get a
Yeah.
Digivice. We actually introduce Armor Evolution in this game, which is neat.
Yep.
I don't remember a whole lot about the mechanics because it has been almost 20 years, give or take. And I was playing in Japanese, which I did not then understand, and I would still probably have a little bit of a headache with trying to read the actual plot of the game in Japanese.
Well, there's no kanji, which makes it actually harder
Much
not to have
harder.
kanji.
Yeah,
because there's
exactly.
so many different reading. Like, when I first started Japanese, I was like, oh, this game's so easy. There's no kanji. But now I actually
Yeah,
have
exactly.
like an understanding. I'm just like, oh, there's so many words with the reading of say. Oh my gosh,
Yep.
do you mean fault? Do you mean life? I don't know. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's very much like, yeah, it's actually harder without the kanji.
Yep. So let's see. So, Rio and Ken end up on opposite ends of the world and told that they need to restore a Digimental that has been broken up into shards in order to defeat Millenniummon for reasons. So they do. You go to a bunch of dungeon things. And you can send items back and forth
Also-
between Rio and Ken.
Also, Millenniummon, like, basically seems to imply that Diaboromon was, like, his doing.
Yeah.
Like, he uses
that makes a
Diaboromon
certain
as,
amount of
like,
sense.
as a trap, basically, for Rio,
Wild.
apparently, according to the script.
So he
Yeah.
didn't want to destroy
I'm
the
here for
world, he wanted to destroy Rio.
Yes.
Yep. All of that about in the dub about looking for someone. He was actually looking for Rio.
Yeah.
God, that might actually be canon. I'm not sure.
No,
Anyway,
no, it's not
Everything's about
oh
Rio.
wait, they are. Yeah. So before Ken gets there, you head off and you learn about combat, and then you get put into a trap by Millenniummon, who rips the universe in two, as one does, and puts
Yep.
one of them
As you do.
in each half of the universe. So extra.
Yeah, it's very extra.
So anyway, so we do that. Ken meets Wormmon. They become partners. They are able to trade items back and forth. And they eventually put together all the pieces of the Digimental of, what is it? Faith? Miracle? Something like that?
Destiny,
All I
maybe?
know is that the Digimental of Darkness is in this. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Darkness.
I can't actually find which but it's a Digimental of Desire.
There we go.
I think
Digimental
which
of
is like a
Desire.
completely unique one to the game, I think.
Yeah, it is not one that has ever shown up elsewhere. And
Yep.
it turns out the reason they needed to reassemble it was so that Rio and Ken could go inside of Millennium Mon, like you
Yep.
do.
Millennium Mon's heart.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then later, Rio will end up going inside of Cyberdramon's heart, but it'll be slightly different.
Also, there's a Digimental of Guts, which raises defense against poop-based attacks in Tag Tamers.
I hate it.
And there's also the Digimental of Vanity, which raises defense against Soundwave-based attacks in Digimon Adventure Tag Tamers. This is great!
I love how many
I love this.
Digimentals there are. They're so good. God, I want someone to have the Crest of Vanity. How did Mimi not get the Crest of Vanity?
Well, it's like, if she got corrupted, that'd be her crest, right?
You know what? I'm claiming it. Someone draw me some art of the Crest of Vanity, please.
Is there actual art of it, or is it just like a blob
I
in
don't
pixel
know.
form?
But someone, even
To
if it
Google.
doesn't
Find
exist,
it.
yeah, I'm googling it now.
Yeah, I tried to Google the Digimental Desire, but I could not. I could only find fan art about it. But yeah, so there's 9 pieces of the Digimental Desire, and it's like a collectathon now. So instead of just beating the bad guys, you have to collect the pieces of the Digimental. So that's a thing. So yeah, continue, Quinn.
Let's see here. So, Millennium talks to you a bunch as you go through his heart. He apparently can't be defeated by just one power, so those two have to work together, etc., etc. We'll defeat Millennium Mon with the power of friendship. And at the very end, we get taken into a world created from Millennium Mon's mind, inside of his heart. We destroy his physical body, and then he shoots a dark seed attempts to shoot into Rio, but Ken takes the bullet, shouting, "Get down, Mr. President."
It's Moon Millennium on at this point, right?
Yeah, it's Moon =, Millennium Mon.
Oh, of course, because that's how words work.
It's so extra.
Wait, does that mean... Wait, is that... As I said, I haven't played this game, but does that mean that it's implying that the moon is literally Millenniumon?
I believe that we are setting the variable moon equal to Millennium Mon.
Oh, of course. So
There's only the
he wants
one.
to become the moon. That's rough, buddy.
I think the moon will become him, not the other way around, because the moon is on the left side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the moon is becoming him, so he...
Dope.
But that...
The
dope,
moon
yeah.
becomes
Like,
me.
goals.
Yeah.
Body goals.
What a mood.
What a moon.
This, by the way, is the point at which Millennium Mon appears in the evil crystal that we've been seeing in Colon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is Moon = Millennium Mon in colon then.
Yeah, and so as his physical body collapses and Millennium Mon has been defeated, but Ken has been made sick by the dark spore in his neck.
Yeah, the dark side, yeah.
Millennium Mon insists that his power is eternal and he will be back. Wahaha.
Yeah.
And so then we just get like a really sad ending. Wormmon says that Ken became really cold and hopes that Ken will become gentle again someday.
Aw.
And then we get the epilogue, which is just
The Dark Ocean scene.
Ken putting his electronics in the water like a genius, and it transforms into a D3, and then he's like, "I'm the Kaiser, and I'm the ruler of the world," and I'm like, Jesus, calm down,
Dial
Kenneth.
it back a bit, kid.
Yeah, which is more or less seen in 02 when he puts the Digivice in the water of the Dark Ocean.
Yeah, it's going to be important to note that when we see that moment happen, it is after the events of D1 Tamers, which gets our...
It's a year later.
Yeah, it is. So we will see a next game where Ken is still sick and we don't know what's going to happen to him.
Yeah.
Unless you've seen some 02.
Yeah.
And then I don't believe he's in Brave Tamer at all.
No, I think, he just mentioned in D1 Tamer, and I don't think he's in Brave Tamer.
Yeah. So that brings us to D1 Tamers. D1 Tamers is a really weird interstitial one because nothing very important happens in terms of the broader plot, but a lot of interesting character development stuff happens, briefly,
Yeah.
except that we get it mostly memory wiped again, because of course we do.
Yeah.
How can Rio develop anyway when he's already perfect?
So they have Rio take a personality test at the beginning of this game, I believe because Ken is bored and asked him to. And whatever answers you pick to the questions, at the end it has you pick one of the 4 holy Digimon to be, like if you could pick one as a partner, who would it be? And whoever you pick as the partner will be the final boss, which is an interesting thing. So you get called into the digital world at that point. Ken can't go because sick, but he will continue to work as like your net navvy in the real world, giving you information. You'll call him on your telephone sometimes, but he won't be physically involved.
Ken is Izzy.
Yes, Ken becomes Izzy for a little bit.
Or the entire B team.
Oh, what if Izzy got weak child syndrome from Hikari?
No.
So Rio is called into the digital world by the holy Digimon, who explained that whichever one you picked has gone rogue, and you're going to have a tournament.
No, I thought it was. I mean, according to the TV Tropes recap,
maybe I'm remembering wrong.
Rio gets informed that 3 of the 4 holy beasts had turned evil, with the
That's
Soul Holy
it.
Beast, which is the one that you got.
Yeah.
Arranged the D1 tournament in response, and the winner of the tournament
Gets
will
to partner.
partner with the Soul Holy Beast and take on the others.
God, that's silly. Anyway, what a terrible idea.
It's so fanfic.
Why does
All
Rio
of these
believe
are so
this?
fanfic.
And then the whole thing turns out to be fake because it's a fake tournament.
No.
God, it's so convoluted. So yes, we are at this point having the holy Digimon lie to Rio to get him to do the tournament so that he will get stronger, so that he will fight Millennium Mon again, because if we don't lie to him a whole bunch, he'll refuse to do it, I guess.
Yeah, also Mimi tries to ask Rio out.
Mimi does try to
'Cause
ask
of
Rio
course.
out, and
Which I'm like, okay, thanks, Mimi.
yeah, he turns her down if I remember right, which is, Rio is dead to me now, but
I got to go be creepy to Ruki in like a year.
yep. Yeah, it's very, God, that's so self-insert. Just,
Yeah.
I met Mimi from Digimon. She asked me out. Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's so
turned her
it's so
down.
fanfic. Like this
It's
entire
so
thing.
much. Yeah, we are pretending to have a tournament to train Rio not to fight the other holy Digimon, but actually to fight Millennium Mon, who is back again. And we will eventually learn. Oh yeah, by the way, your life forces are inextricably linked, so you just have to keep fighting him over and over again until both of you die.
What?
Thanks. Yeah. So Rio is understandably pissed and has some flashbacks to Devimon, doing the whole trauma thing to him.
Yeah.
You go and he very reluctantly agrees to fight Millennium Mon because it's the right thing to do, but also tells everybody to f*** off.
Basically, yeah.
And so he does it, and that's the end of the game. Is let's see, how does it end?
I've
fight-
got the
go for it.
recap open. First of all, Moon Millenniumon is happy to see Rio because he's in love with him. And then before, during, and after this fight, he constantly tells Rio that the two were effectively one and the same, sharing the same power, and they were flip sides of the same coin, light and darkness, and that neither could exist without the other, because he's in love with him.
It's a little much.
And, yeah, Moon Millenniumon then declares that if he's going to die, Rio has to go down with him, with a massive explosion. Rio and Moon Millenniumon are flung through time and space, never to return to the world of Digimon Adventure ever again. So at this point, it is he's basically gone to the Tamer's Land.
Not quite.
At the end, yeah, well, almost. He's on the way there, and then later, Ken is lamenting about Ryo's disappearance in a discussion with Genai, and he expresses his belief that Rio is still alive and the two will meet again one day, which they don't.
Nope.
They just, no, never again. But, yeah, so he...
Wait, did they...
He's not returning to the world.
Did they meet up again in Young Hunters? I know Ken was there.
No, Rio wasn't in Young...
God, how was Rio not in the dimension hopping episode?
He was in V-Tamer. He met, Adventure...
I know,
not
but
Adventure,
you could
he
have
met
let them
V-Tamer
meet
Taichi.
again. You could have let them hug.
Nope.
What the heck? I'm so mad.
That was just Ken, and also I guess the writers through Ken saying, oh, just in case we decide to make another game after Brave Tamer, I guess.
Yeah. Which they do.
Which they didn't.
Oh, yeah.
After Brave Tamer.
No, but we're still on D1 Tamer.
Yeah.
But yeah,
These
so
games
D1
are stupid.
Yeah, D1 Tamer, which is a really terrible name, does just end on Rio being presumed dead by everyone except Ken, and no one goes looking for him. The end. So now we get into Brave Tamer, where things go just so weird. So now the story has gotten timey-wimey because we're outside of the time and space that we have been in for so long.
Yep. I just read like the best thing in this recap that's like from the end of the game about how Millenniumon released Apoclymon.
Yeah.
And it was his fault that Apoclymon was there.
You want me to
okay,
read this
continue.
through? Okay. In fact, I'm just going to read this whole
yeah,
thing. Millenniumon's release of Apoclymon, the primary antagonist of Digimon Adventure, is obviously what set Apoclymon off at the end of Adventure Universe. His very existence generated chaos upon the universe, from which the four Dark Masters were born. Devimon, Edamon, and Vamdemon were also born of Apoclymon's chaos. On the flip side, Millenniumon's actions also caused the solutions to the problems he caused. As a result of respectively being caught by Vamdemon and witnessing the Dark Master's actions in the sky of the real world, Daisuke Motomiya and Iorihida eventually become chosen children.
Wow, this is so like
It's so much.
wow. It's so much. But yeah, continue the actual Brave Tamer. I just wanted to jump to that part because I just like, okay, I forgot that existed, that Apoclymon happened because
Yeah. So
Millenniumon did it.
Buckle up for a moment, because the beginning of Brave Tamer, now that we are outside of time and space as we formerly knew them, now it's time to meet the ENIAC machine. So the ENIAC is one of the world's first computers, created in 1945.
It's real too.
Yeah,
Like,
in the
it's
real
big-
world,
I think
1945. My grandfather worked on one of these machines at one point.
Well, that's cool. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone's seen what the ENIAC is, but maybe they don't know the name. You've probably seen it like as the first computer. It's the computer that's basically the size of a room. It is huge.
It
It
is.
is just basically wires and servers. And you've like I would assume that anybody who has any interest in IT, or I'm pretty sure they show everyone in primary school anyway because it's just interesting. I'm not sure they still do. But it's the big computer that takes up the entire room. It's got a bunch of people like pulling out and pulling in wires.
It's very
it's just a
very
big thing.
science. You get to feel like you deserve to wear a lab coat when you're around one of those.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a computer that we have now, but
But
it is the first computer, and it's a character in Digimon now.
yes, it is a character in Digimon, a personified character who, when created, spawned the digital world with it. Apparently, the digital world exists, or rather, more to the point, ENIAC has access to every universe in the multiverse wherein a digital world exists, meaning basically you can do time travel to any point in the multiverse at which there is a digital world. So about 1930 or later, or 1940-ish or later, which is super wild. But now the ENIAC is being destroyed or something, because it is the origin point of all digital world dimensions. You know, like you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, this gets to be so much. So Rio finally gets his partner in. Oh, who did we use? Vmon again in D1 Tamers?
I don't remember. It doesn't. I think it's just the Holy Beast that it says in this recap.
Huh.
But
Interesting.
I don't actually know.
I
will
curious to look that
inform
up.
you when I.
Yeah, if you could look
when
into
I
that
play
while I
that game
read some
eventually.
things. So anyway, so ENIAC is able to go to any point in time or space and makes Rio into its champion, basically. And gives Rio a... Is it a D arc or a D3? I can't remember.
I think it might be a D arc.
I think it's a D arc, because we were teasing Tamers a little bit. We give Rio a D arc and a Monodramon and send him out to be a general. Because it's not like he needs a vacation or anything. From the far distant future, Zeed Millenniummon is sending things into the sending Digimon into the past to invade and claim the future. Oh God, it's so much. It's so much. We are playing 5-dimensional chess with multiversal time travel. Just like unironically here. Yeah. So, Rio has lost much of his memory because of the explosion, but is still doing fights, like you do. We send a bunch of Digimon into the past, Rio hops around and does a bunch of fighting. Deathmon is sent into the past. Go for it.
Sorry, just quickly. D1 Tamer, your team is your original starting team is Vmon, Wormmon, and Agumon. Huh. That's your first party.
Okay, thank you.
And you seem to be using in D1 Tamer Daisuke's D3.
Yeah.
Not sure about Brave Tamer. I can't seem to find any.
Brave Tamer, I'm pretty sure he uses his D-Arc.
I would say D-Arc because Takado shows up later on.
Yeah.
My brain hurts.
There's so much to this. It gets so much in the last game.
It's so much.
Because they just went so off the rails. And I love it. I love it so much. So we fight a bunch of time-hopping Digimon. Millenniumon wants to know why he continues to fight. He loves him, etc., etc. Just reading through some things, because this is the part that it has been quite a while. We fight Black War Goemon, because of course we do. We have to destroy a flower or something.
Yeah, or something.
These Digimon that we're killing, in order to make it ethical, we're doing basically Dark Tower fake Digimon, which is where Black War Greymon comes in. But this time we just kill him without letting him do too many monologues, I guess. Let's see. We run into Genai, who he suddenly remembers because amnesia only matters sometimes.
Also, I think it's just Genai being he doesn't... I 100% think that Genai was meant to be Google in the way that Genai only knows things if you ask him. You can't just open Google and it immediately tells you everything that Google knows. You actually have to input something into Google. Oh. So I'm sure if Taichi went up to Genai and said, hey, do you know someone called Rio? He would be able to answer him.
Yeah.
Because remember...
Or if Sora went up to him and said, hey, can you lick me?
Oh, that's so creepy. I wish that never happened.
I sure do, too.
Yeah, so that actually makes a lot of sense because Genai doesn't mention things until they become immediately relevant. He doesn't mention the prophecy when he first meets the kids.
I think you're stretching here, May, but it's adorable.
Yeah, but, he doesn't mention the 8th child at the start. He only mentions the 8th child when the characters
But it's just called bad writing.
Yeah, but you could explain it away
with just saying... But you could explain it, but that
Google.
Doesn't mean you should. I'm turning into Jay. And no one wants that.
Well... straight up. But Colin absolutely just replaces him with Google.
They sure do.
Just straight up.
And Koshiro.
Yeah.
Koshiro can be just as good at reading stone blocks and Google.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're dealing with Clone Wars. We have a clone of the Digimon Kaiser who Rio ends up having to fight, which is pretty screwed up.
When did the Tamers kids randomly start showing up? Because I know that I've seen a screenshot, which I think I've got open, which is just the Terriermon and Gorimon fight. Which is it just in this game now?
Yeah, I believe
just put
that's
it in the
just
Discord.
how they made it canon, is that game that he was playing was that fight. It's so wild.
Yeah. Also, any of the screenshots or anything that we mentioned can be found on the I keep on wanting to say Beyond Yesterday, Remembering Yesterday website, which I'll link. I won't link it individual screenshots, but they can all be found on this website.
Yeah. I forget, does Ruki show up in this one?
I know Jen does, and I know Takado does, but I don't know if Ruki does, which is just... that's not fair at all.
So yeah, Rio gets help from a bunch of the Tamers and O2 kids, which is interesting. You fight...
it's wild.
You fight some clones, you save Takeru, Hikari, or Mimi. Mimi will flirt with you again if you choose to save her.
Such a self-insert.
Why would you not choose to save Mimi, though?
Right?
Yeah, I would definitely, sorry TK and Kari, but I'm going to rescue Mimi.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. Hikari, for some reason, looks like her adventure outfit. Actually,
I guess she's young.
Yeah, all of them are still younger sprites, which is really weird if the Kaiser is showing up, but I guess it's timey-wiminess.
Well, again, I'm looking at the screenshots, and Mimi is hanging out in Toy Town. Kari is hanging out in what looks to be Tokyo with Vamdemon, and Takeru is hanging out with Devimon in a cave. So, or I guess could be near a cliff. I'm not sure about where it is in the screenshot, but that's kind of cool that they're all kind of callbacks to important episodes for them.
When was
we-
Takaru in a cave?
No, it's not a cave. It's like it looks like a cave in the screenshot, but it could just be the cliff where Patamon evolved.
Oh, we
Okay.
forgot to mention that that Monodramon is so called for being the first Digimon ever, because Rio is a self-insert character.
And this
Oh,
new
like,
the
one
newly
dragon.
created Digimon.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a whole lot, and this is the point where I lose a little bit of track of what happens. We do fight Dark Taichi, which is wild.
What?
Yeah, there's a dark version of Taichi. We have to fight him. You also fight Daisuke and Takato, which is wild. I think they are also being mind controlled by Millennium Mon. Yeah, evil Takato.
But only Rio
let's-
can defeat them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, the ENIAC makes a final gate to the future, but some Digimon have to sacrifice themselves to keep the gate open, or Rio will be lost in time forever. You know,
Oh no.
like you do. Yeah, so we're just adding some red shirt sacrifices here. Let's see.
It's all Leomon.
And that pretty much sets us up for the final battle. Rio versus Zed Millennium Mon. Millennium Mon.
With the Z, not an X. Or is it
What's that?
both?
It's Zed with a Z.
Is it Z with
I
a
guess
Z?
it doesn't matter 'cause
But
it's
there's
in-
also like Z Millennium with
There-
an X somewhere.
Yeah,
This one is
They
Z.
might be the same one. I honestly don't know.
possible. Let's see. So Millennium Mon still says they should have been partners. Monodramon is, not super happy about this, but says he feels the Jogress beginning. And, so you fight, you win, and Monodramon decides to force a Jogress with Millennium Mon, Zed Millennium Mon.
Because he's salty. It's like
Yeah.
It's like when your current partner is jealous of your ex, so that current partner like merges with the ex.
Yeah, well, it's like when your current partner is salty about your ex, and so they do a Steven Universe future fusion, and then just end up married and Garnet, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Rio gets left with an egg that is the result of Zed Millennium Mon, a creature of chaos and hate, being forced to evolve with his extremely loyal puppy, the first Digimon ever, and that's where we get Out of Control Cyberdramon from.
Yeah. And now NEX's like, hey Rio, do you want to return to your universe? Or do you want to just go to a new one? And he's like, I'm so depressed now because I've gone through, like, so much trauma.
Yeah, he's just like, screw Taichi, screw Genai, screw everyone, I'm going to a new universe, let me hit on Ruki now.
Yeah.
Send me to the most depressing
And that's
Digimon
it.
series.
That's the end of the series, and that's the last time Rio shows up until we get to him in the Moncast.
Yep, basically.
Oh no, he's
so-
going to be in the Moncast. Damn it.
Yep, Rio happens.
Why
But yeah,
is he
there's a
everywhere?
whole bunch of stuff. And also, this recap on TV Tropes also says that Millenniumon was also responsible for the creation of Diablomon, which came dangerously close to, destroying Tokyo. And the fight was witnessed by people around the world, creating the international chosen children.
Yeah, that's just our war
But
game.
actually, Rio, Ken, and Miyako also saw this fight. And yeah, it's a whole thing. And also,
It turns
the
out
Darks.
It turns
Yeah.
out Rio was the most important person in Adventure. We just never saw him on screen.
Basically.
It's so much. Yeah. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about, unless we have anything more to say about Rio,
Oh my god, why is there so much Rio?
so I just thought I'd talk about, as long as we're talking about Colon, and there's still a lot up in the air in terms of its multiverse, and whether or not there's actually any canonical relationship to the original Adventure, and I would still very much like there to be some reboot shenanigans and some Rio-ness to make all of this tie together, which feels maybe not impossible, but also like they haven't done anything great in a while, and that would be difficult. But in any event, I thought I would talk about how kind of wild it is that, and help me if I've forgotten any, but canon specifically to adventure, we have the human world, the digital world, the network thing where the Diaboromon fights happen, the Dark Ocean, wherever Vamdemon is, and possibly somewhere separate for Homeostasis and Yggdrasil? Did I miss anyone?
The dub has introduces a prison world because they don't want to say death, which Pumpmon and Gotsumon are sent to.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Because, so they're not actually dead in the dub. Canonically, they're just kind of in the dub in a prison world. I'm not sure if that's just
They lost
a
a
prison
children's
in the
card
digital world.
game and were sent to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah, basically. There's a Shadow Realm. I'm not sure. I'd like to believe that is the Dark Ocean. But obviously we don't see them when we visit the Dark Ocean briefly in 02.
Yeah, the Dark Ocean is always the interesting one to me because we do so little with it, but we set it up to be very foreboding.
And while we're talking about weird things weird ways that this can tie into Colin, just a couple of weeks ago, I made a post on Twitter. I will read it. Asterix takes sip of whiskey. Asterix. What if Digimon Survive was meant to come out this month, being December at the time, but got delayed because the anime was on hiatus for a little bit earlier in this year, as in last year, and Survive has spoilers from the anime and is actually a stealth reboot of the Rio WonderSwan games.
Please no.
I know, please no.
Much.
I want to enjoy Digimon Survive. Don't do that to me.
So they were
please, I want this so much. I want to turn Digimon into Kingdom Hearts.
No.
The replies went from takes whiskey away from you or hands you another glass. So those were the those responses. Some people either hated it or loved that theory.
To me, the insanity
that's why
that is Rio is the best thing about Digimon, and the fact that Digimon doesn't lean into that is a tragedy. But that leads me to the other best thing about about Digimon, which is Mirai.
Is there a difference?
Oh, yes.
Is there a difference between Rio and Digimon?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know anything
Are they
anymore.
one and the same? Have I just been watching the Rio show this entire time?
Yes.
Okay, April Fools are doing the Rio cast.
No.
It's no longer
Lost
about
in
Digimon.
Time Lationmon.
Oh no. No more. After this, no more Rio. We've already covered Rio enough on the
No.
podcast.
I'm pretty done with
2015
Rio
one.
after this one. I love everything about Rio, but unless there's more in Survive or something, we've covered Rio.
Yeah, unless Rio does actually come out in Colin, which I wouldn't hate. If we revisited Rio and we actually
I would really like that.
Here's a fun bit of lore I can drop, or I guess not lore, but trivia probably more is the better word for it. But in there was this comic strip that came out. We got in Australia. I believe the UK also had it. I think it was Otter Press or something. I can't remember, but anyway, it continued in, I think it was Italian at some point, and they actually did recap the WonderSwan games in this comic.
Huh, wild.
So it actually did get explained to non-Japanese audiences once. The comic strip didn't continue in Australia. We got to I think I posted photos of it before because I do own a couple of the D-Mag. I think it was called the Digimon Mag or something on those lines. But I have given screenshots of it before, and it is very weird, especially the 02 one where they tried to make it different. I don't know, it's weird. But anyway, they did in another language that's not English. They did explain the Rio games and have him have some flashbacks in their Tamers coverage about how he first met Monodramon and his whole story. So that's a thing. But it's not really. It's hard to come by, and I don't think there's scans online or anything of it besides a few photos. But so I just thought I'd drop that little bit of trivia that it was explained at some point, not in Japanese.
That is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rio stuff weird, but we can move on from it. So that does bring me to Mirai, who has never, I don't think, been canonically involved in any adventure stuff. But I feel like sure could be, and if we do go Rio, I could maybe see bringing both of them in. But I feel like we're gonna do
she's jumped
one or the other.
She jumped between 3 different universes for
Yeah.
the games. Because she was in Next Order, and she was in
She's been-
Cyber Sleuth, and she's also from the DS
Redigitized,
games as
yep.
well.
Yeah, she's been in
yeah.
Redigitized, Cyber Sleuth, and Next Order.
Yeah, but I think I'm not sure about this, but Redigitize and Next Order meant to be the same universe, because I know Next Order is the same universe as the original Digimon world.
I don't.
No idea.
Yes. Redigitize is explicitly the same universe. It has most of the same location names, and the few that changed are ones that, like, explicitly, that location, I think it's now an undersea ruins, but it used to be the glacier zone.
Yeah. So we can say that the Digimon World series includes Redigitize and Next Order, and then we've got the Story Dusk series, which I think is its own universe
It is.
as well from Cyber Sleuth, which is a separate universe. So those are 3 different universes at least that she's already been in.
Yeah.
I think she originated in the DS games, like the Dusk and Dawn. I think she originated in.
That sounds right.
Are the mangas their own universe as well? Because there was a Redigitized
Yes.
manga.
Yeah.
I think the Redigitized manga could be counted as the same. I own it. I just haven't read it. I would count that as the same universe as Redigitize.
So yeah.
Isn't there a
Not too
team with
much
a
more.
Vmon as well? That's also jumped between universes.
Yeah, Rena. She is.
Rena.
She is in. She also crosses universes, but only with Moray's help, because she appears in Cyber Sleuth.
Yeah.
And Next Order. Yeah.
Yeah, but Next Order's the same universe as Redigitize, so I'm not including that as a different universe because it's the same universe.
Do these universes even count if Rio's not in them yet?
Well, yeah, for the purpose of different universes for this dimensional thing,
So
and like other characters who can hop dimensions, like every character who appears in V-Tamer has crossed dimensions, usually by like Parallelmon.
yeah. Let's see. So yeah. So just with the number of things that we have theorized, it is possible that we're doing a stealth, a frontier reboot or prequel. With colon, and we might connect it to Digimon World and the other games. As well as Tamers, and if you do bring back a Rio, now you can potentially have 2020 Taichi meet Tri Taichi, which would be wild.
That would be wild. But well, he's already met V-Tamer Taichi,
That would also
which is
be
funny because
cool.
V-Tamer Taichi has met everybody but original Taichi. Well, I guess he is the original Taichi, but Adventure Taichi he hasn't met. He's met 2020 Taichi, he's met Daisuke,
Yep.
but he hasn't met original Adventure 1999 Taichi.
Wait, is V-Tamer still ongoing?
They released a chapter a few months ago in V-Jump, which was the 2020 Taichi meeting the V-Tamer Taichi. It was very funny. It was very cute.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's what I have on the multiverse. There just are a lot of multiverses in Digimon, especially in Adventure, way more than in most of them.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I'm
Mirai
going to
is
be
great.
fairly annoyed if it's just Millenniumon showing up and we don't get any.
If nothing
lore or
gets
anything,
called,
he's
yeah.
just-
if it's
if
just
he's
a
just-
Millennium Mon.
Yeah, if he's just a bad guy, it's just disregarding every season's lore, which is I mean, I kind of expect that, so I guess I won't be surprised, but I'll be moderately annoyed if all of a sudden we're just forgetting that that Millenniumon existed as Millenniumon.
Yeah.
It's just it'll just be annoying.
Yeah, I really hope that we're not doing that. I still wish we knew more about the Dark Ocean. I especially wish that we had anything more about what was it, a Daemon who wanted to sleep with
Daemon, yeah.
yeah.
He just got sent to the Dark Ocean.
No, I meant who was already there and was the great old one.
Oh, Dagomon.
Dagomon, yeah, Dagomon.
Cthulhu.
Anything happening with Dagomon would have been so cool, and I really hoped Tri would have followed up on that. And then,
Also
you
the
know,
Divamon? Oh yeah, I was saying the Divamon were also there, but also I completely forgot that Maki got sent to the Dark Ocean in Tri, and then it was never mentioned again. I forgot that existed because it was literally 5 minutes.
Yep.
She had some guns, and
Yeah.
she was just holding them in the Dark Ocean, and I was like, this is going somewhere, and then it never did.
well, and
The
it's so
guns
great.
I thought she
changed
was going to-
between every
The
shot.
the gun was a rifle, and then it became a pistol, and it's very funny, and that's the last we ever saw of Maki. I guess she
I
died.
thought she just was going to assassinate Dagomon because she was mad, but that was it. Like, I
Yeah.
was so excited.
Well, and so
Nothing happened.
then they teased it for, like, you know, the obviously next thing that turned out to be Kizuna,
Yep.
where, as far as I know, we sure don't follow up on that.
Nope. Never again. Maki is not mentioned, and neither is Daigo, but I guess that makes sense, because R.I.P.
Yeah, oof.
Rest in plot.
I want to see the Kazuna dub.
Let's see. Ink.
It's coming out in, like, on the 13th, I think, here. I'm excited. I'm not excited because... I'm not excited at all for it, because...
I'm excited.
I
They
didn't
got
like it.
Jeff Nimoy to come in and write it.
Yeah, so maybe the dub fixes a lot of things that I have to complain about it, so... I mean, you can't change animation, but you can sure explain your way around things.
So one thing
Viv.
that I was asked to talk about with this is exactly where Mireille comes from. Because we've talked about that she's been in a bunch of worlds, but that doesn't say anything about who she is or why we care about her. So I believe she originates in the Dusk and Dawn games, and I have not played those
Yep.
particularly much. But Mireille...
I haven't, and yeah, she does.
Okay. Mireille has lost her body and can no longer return to a human world as a result. And so
Yep.
But she can
Ah.
take advantage of that to just hop between dimensions. I'm unclear if they've ever explained how she lost her body.
I don't know.
I don't think they've ever told us, and we're just kind of slow building to it over the next, 5 games or whatever.
Like, she's got... I hope she appears in Survive on the basis that, like...
I would be
It's
very
kind of like a thing
surprised
now.
if she didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, like, she's shown up in Cyber Sleuth, but also Next Order.
Yeah, she was
Like,
she was a fairly major character in Cyber Sleuth. Let's see.
Yeah.
So let's see. The first one I encountered her in was Redigitize, where she just stands around and is mysterious. And if you complete the game, New Game Plus, you can play with her avatar, or her sprite,
That's cool.
which
That's
is
cool.
wild.
But yeah, she's also in Next Order, kind of just to explain that Digimon cross over from different universes sometimes, and it just sort of happens, and
To just go with it.
that's it.
Yeah. So then in Cyber Sleuth is probably her biggest role so far, where she acts as one of your major quest givers. She helps your character who has lost their body, which is an area she has some experience with.
She has lesbians as cats.
She does. She sends you to some other worlds and brings what is her name? Rena. Yeah.
Rena.
I love her. I love her so much.
I love her too. She's hyperactive, and also she has a royal knight as her partner.
She does, and oh god, Nokia is the best.
Oh yeah, there's some good. Like I liked Cyber Sleuth.
I really
I just finished
enjoyed.
Hacker's Memory like last year.
I need to finish Hacker's Memory. I started it, but I was really disappointed that I had to play as a dude.
Yeah, I had the same feeling, but then
I
like
really like
I don't know,
the cover
I-
baited me into thinking the really cute girl would be the other
you could-
optional
yeah,
player.
Yeah, you could play her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too. And I like having the choice. But it was a pretty... Like, it got a lot better. At the start, it's just sort of like, oh, this is just Cyber Sleuth again. But then, like, it gets a lot better.
Yeah,
But you
I
have to
just
get
didn't have
past,
time
like,
for
the
it.
start bit.
And now I gave away my
Yeah.
Vita, so I'm
there's
gonna
a-
have to buy it on something else.
Yeah, well, it's on PS4.
I think I'm probably gonna
It's
get
on
it
PC
on
as well.
PC or
Or-
Switch
or-
now. It's on everything, which is wild.
Oh yeah, it's on Switch and PC. I forgot about that. The complete edition. Also, you could also just watch my playthrough, which is all on YouTube, because I decided to do the entire game as a stream.
So I'll tell you what,
So that's the
I
thing.
did end up giving away my Vita because I never turn on the Vita anymore. But the main thing that has stopped me from ever playing Hacker's Memory on like PC or whatever is that I had a complete Pokédex in the original game, and I didn't wanna redo it.
It's a
Yeah.
field guide, isn't it?
Whatever, it's a
field guide,
Pokédex.
but I get your idea. Yeah.
At least call it a Digidex if you're going to get it wrong.
Nope, it's the Pokédex. I do want to say, while we're on the subject of Mireille and Redigitize, one thing that I am really excited about is that my friend Romstar was able to release the Redigitize Decode patch, which is the significantly expanded version of Redigitize for the PSP. There's a lot more plot and content to it, more Mireille stuff that I don't know much about yet, but I know an explicit scene of her traveling at the end to the Cyber Sleuth universe, which is neat. Yeah, no, if you haven't, check it out. One of the things that he works really hard on for that is There are really thorough instructions with the patch on how to get it working on a 3DS, or even you can even get it to play on the cartridge with a weird software patch that goes along with it.
That's cool.
So yeah, no, it's worth doing. Yeah, I think that's what I have on this one. There are 2 things left on our list, which is, do we have any Frontier ideas that we think will be relevant to Colon that we haven't already talked about?
Only what we've already talked about, which is the holy Digimon basically being Ophanimon, Seraphimon, and Cherubimon, which we've already seen. So
yeah, I could certainly be.
That's all I can think.
Yeah, like, we're definitely bringing back a lot of characters. I think the idea that it's actually going to be a canonical connection is a little unlikely, but I'd be down.
Yeah.
God, I hope the Royal
I'd like
Knights
for it to
show up
be
to be
a,
extra again.
I would like it to be a sequel to Frontier, like as in
same.
Frontier happened in 2004. This is 16 years later.
Yeah, no, I'd be very down for that. I'd be down for a cameo from the original kids too. Bring back Zoe, let her be Mimi's mentor,
or have them like show up as how old they'd be now, because they'd be our
That's
age
what I
now,
mean.
I'm
Make
pretty
it be
sure,
16 years later
Yeah.
and let her just be Mimi's mentor.
Like if they were 10 in like 2003 or 2004 or whatever, I
25.
think some of them might have been. I think they might have been 11. They'd be like our age basically, well,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
age, because I
Which is
was
cool. I'd be
11 in 2004.
I'd be really into that, getting to see some of those characters and acknowledge that they do grow up. And I don't know, the idea that Digimon would still be important to those people at a later age. Too much stuff tries to Narnia and just go, oh yeah, by the way, you're supposed to just give up your childhood things.
Yeah. Also, I want Namon to just straight up the Namon that we saw be Namon,
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
that'd be so
Bokumon has died
good.
or something, and he's going through like grief, and that's why he seemed a lot smarter, because he's gone through like losing his best friend slash partner. Yeah, but like I feel like they could do that, but as the show is aimed at a new demographic, I don't think we're going to get that much
We're
of
definitely
a callback
not
to
going to
any
get
other
that.
seasons.
We might get, I could maybe see Namon doing a "You remind me of somebody."
Yeah, like something that could just be a throwaway line. Like they could do what they did with the Rio games and have like a screenshot that, like, I've spoken to people who aren't familiar with the Rio games, but are very familiar with Zero Two or just the universe in general. And I've said, hey, you know that Rio shows up in Zero Two, and they think, no, he doesn't. And I'm like, oh,
very
yeah, he does.
blink
And they'll
and
be
you
like,
miss it.
oh, yeah, and they'll say, oh, maybe they removed it in the dub. And I'm like, nope, he's there.
He's a background
It's-
character.
But Millenniumon is there in full view, and we see Ken and Rio and Millenniumon in Zero Two in like I think 2 shots maybe, but it's still so much like I do not remember seeing that as a kid. I didn't realize it was there.
I definitely
until it was
remember
pointed out to me.
seeing the character and wondering who that was, and then wishing that like looking into it, and that's how I think I found out that the games even existed and played the first WonderSwan game.
Yeah, see, I wasn't that like switched on. I just
I was
missed it
like
completely.
16 when I noticed it, maybe, but I remember
I was, like,
going down a
9.
rabbit hole.
When I saw it for the first time, and I don't think I really picked up on it until
I also
knew what the
didn't get
WonderSwan
to
games
watch all of Zero Two until years later because I didn't always have
were.
cable.
Okay. Yeah, see, it was on free to wear in Australia.
Gotcha.
But yeah. So
You could barely
I
recognize Millenniumon. He looks so crippled in the screenshot.
that's it's very much like it's very far off in the distance. That's when the dark spore comes out of him. But so if they do have any connections, I can only imagine that it's going to be in a very, very blink and the miss it screenshot, or just vague sort of like, you remind me of someone, or
You remind me of the babe.
I don't know, the babe. What babe? The babe with the fear
The babe
of
with the
power or
crest.
something. I don't know. The babe with the crest of
Voodoo.
sexy dynamite or whatever Frontier
Oh,
decided
no.
to do. But so I can't imagine them having too many connections to older stuff, because they're trying to aim this as a target demographic. But it would be so nice if they actually say something about Millenniumon.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, especially because Millenniumon is part Mugendramon, and we just had Agumon evolve to Mugendramon, so
It's so much. God.
yeah, it's
This is So that brings me to the last thing that I wanted to do in this weird episode today, which is we're about halfway through : We've seen some ups and downs. We've definitely talked about a lot of cool things that we think they should do. So I would like to go through now as our last thing to talk about two different things, which is one, what we think they will probably be doing in the second half, and what we would do from here if we were in charge. You can't change anything that's already happened. Wait, how do you rewrite from here?
Yeah, so I actually do have something, like an idea for this. And this is something that I'm just saying, judging by the War Greymon episode that we just had, where we had him fight with Parrotmon and then an evolution of Parrotmon. So that got me thinking, because that's a slight semi-callback to the original series about how Greymon fought with Parrotmon, if I was in charge of writing this, I would have, as a bit of a callback to the original series, each of the new Chosen have their Evolution to Ultimate episode be against a Digimon that was significant to that child. So for Mimi, we'll have Shogun Gekomon. For Koshiro, we have Vadermon, who may evolve into Ebemon. Takaru, we've already done Devimon, but we could do Piedmon or Pumpmon and Gutsumon, someone special to him. Hikari, I guess Vamdamon. Yamato could fight against Digitamamon. We could have Joe with, I guess, Seadramon. We could have him fight Mega Seadramon, as, like, Seadramon has for some reason been seen as an enemy for Ikakumon. We had Ikakumon fight Mega Seadramon in 02, and also Mega Seadramon in Adventure as well, and they sort of had some beef, so that could be something. So I would just try to make slight callbacks in these evolution episodes to foes that Digimon has fought one-on-one. Also, Mimi could also just fight against, if not Shogun Gekomon, Monzaemon, because that's also a character I would say is a foe for Mimi. We had her in Tri have a Monzaemon like phone charm, so I could easily see that. In terms of what else I'd write, I would actually do some 02 at the end. Once we're done with the Ultimate arc, Evolution arc, I think I would just throw in some 02, because we do have a lot of episodes left, but that also means that we don't get Ultimate Evolution arcs for each character. We just burn through them very quickly, as what we have in the previously done this season, where we just burn through evolutions. So I'm not 100% on that part, but definitely have slight callbacks, because while it doesn't alienate any new viewers, like the target demographic being kids who haven't seen this show before, and it sort of also brings in old viewers who watched the show when they were kids and will remember these characters. And I feel like that's sort of the approach that the writers are going for. Like, for example, we have Millenniumon show up. Like, that surely must be
that's fan service, like, for someone.
Yeah, it's fan service. Like, we have Parrotmon show up. I think that's also fan service. Anything that directly a newcomer wouldn't really care either way about, but means something to the original viewers, is kind of nice. The whole Our War Game callback at the start of the show was very fan service for original fans. So I feel like
it was still fan service when we did it again.
Yeah, but it was at the start with Algomon being more or less just we're fighting the baby Algomon, which same as the Kuramon, and then Algomon keeps on evolving, and then we have to Omegamon to do it, and we're in a digital space. It was very much a callback. So if we had more of those sort of subtle callbacks, I feel like that's less of what I would do, more of what I hope, what I expect them to almost do with those evolution episodes, because we already had it with War Greymon, with Parrotmon. So I would like that, but also it's not like a complete out there expectation. It's not an impossible prediction. It's something that I very well see might actually happen, which is potentially exciting.
Yeah.
I would hate it.
Stevie, how about you?
I've complained before about really disliking when they're just doing the original, but worse.
Well, it wouldn't be the original. It would be like what we did with Parrotmon, where it's just basically the Digimon is there and it evolves into something new. So Vadermon could evolve to Ebemon, which we haven't seen fight with Koshiro. So it's more of the appearance of the Digimon rather than redoing it again. So it wouldn't be just rehashing what we already have. It'd just be
It's still a
using
very
a
low
Digimon.
bar.
I know, but it is a nice sort of like slight callback that doesn't alienate new viewers.
Do you know what's a nice callback? Every character in the show is the character we had in the original series.
Yeah, but I mean like the
doesn't-
appearance of Digimon.
Callbacks and nostalgia don't make substance. Just watch
Yeah, but it'd be
chapter
nice
1
to
of Try
say.
Again.
So
It's so
Stevie,
boring.
what predictions do you have going forward though? What do you expect them to do, and what do you think they should do?
I expect them to carry on just doing a battle every week and
Yeah.
not really have any meaningful character moments, because that seems to be what they're doing.
Sure does.
It would be interesting if they made this tie into the WonderSwan games. I'm
Yeah.
looking at the
Yeah, I would really like
I'm
that.
looking at the end of the D1 Tamers game when
Mm-hmm.
New Millenniumon and Rio start just flying through worlds of time. So this could basically just be canon between that game and the last one.
Right, exactly. It sets itself up very well to be canon if they want it to. And then at that point, I'm like, you know what? Let's just open up the whole universe and
Yeah, like, if
Ray
they're gonna
and have all
rely-
the friends.
If they're going to rely on prior knowledge of the original Digimon Adventure to provide any substance to the show, might as well throw in some WonderSwan games that no one played
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
the
but
deep
I mean,
lore.
I feel like people did play them, but I feel like that would also, without too much explanation, would alienate the new demographic, and I don't think they would do that on that basis because I don't think they want to turn away their actual demographic.
I mean, I
Like,
think
we
you
have to
could
remember,
solve
we're
it
not-
by just having an episode about Rio's backstory.
Oh yeah, you could, but I feel like that would be a lot of explanation,
Right now,
and maybe I think that'd be more. I think it'd be more than one episode.
right now, the new demographic they're catering to is, do you want fights? That's what we are
Yeah, well,
providing, and nothing else.
It is a shonen for kids. Like, we've got to remember that we're not the demographic. We're not, like, you're not meant to go into this taking notes and analysing it. You're meant to go in as an 8-year-old, basically, and watch it
Well,
because it's on TV.
I can only
Aren't we,
analyze it
though?
from my own
Like-
perspective.
They're releasing Digimon Gunpla, where they're not expecting 8-year-olds to buy that.
Oh yeah, there are two demographics they're aiming for. They're aiming for the kids, obviously, who get the Digivice toy and all the Shodo figures, which are the cheap figures that they're releasing alongside Colon. And then they're also releasing the gem figures, which are doing things like the Tamers figures, Savers figures, our War Game figures, which are the more expensive ones, and those are for the adults who have been watching the series since it first started airing. So there's definitely two demographics that they're releasing different things to. We have Kazuna, we have Try, that's obviously aimed predominantly at people who are not newcomers to the series. I can't imagine watching Try and having not seen Digimon before. It's a sequel. So there's definitely two lots of fans that they're aiming for.
Fair enough.
I think 2020 is very clearly aimed at bringing in new kids to watch instead of being aimed
absolutely.
at the nostalgic fans. Because
Oh,
the
yeah,
nostalgic fans, if
100%.
anything, get less out of it because they remember the original characters who were much
Oh yeah,
more
that's what I've
fleshed out.
always said. Like, we're analysing the show as adults who watch the original show, but they're actually aiming this show at kids who are new to the series, and they might have, like, a shout-out, a bit of fan service here and there for just to acknowledge that there are older people watching. Predominantly, it is for a new demographic. It is for newcomers to the franchise.
I just wish the new stuff they were doing was good, because it's
Same.
not.
I mean, like, a lot of kids shows don't try to be that super deep.
No, but they could be a little deeper.
Yeah.
Like, they can do it. Like, the episode with Okamon in, like, episode
They
9, whatever
definitely
it was,
can.
was
and
great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they definitely can. Like, all the Mimi Evolution episodes have been pretty good so far. So they definitely can do good things that I'm sure both...
To me, it is
Types
looking
of fans
mostly
will
like a
enjoy.
budget problem because, I mean, it is so clear to me. I make it as a joke, but it is very clear to me that they cannot afford the voice actors to have bad guys say words, and that's really hampering what they can do with this.
Yeah. Well, we've got to remember that COVID happened, and we don't know if this is how the show would have been without COVID. We don't know how this show, if this show would have changed at all if COVID, or if this is a complete, like, skeleton of what it was meant to be. We don't know how much they were set back by COVID. Was it just they had a hiatus, but they all had everything planned? Were they actually significantly cut back in terms of budget and staff, or what have you? I don't know. We don't know, like...
I think it turned out that 66 episodes is too much.
Yeah, it could be like... Or maybe they had a full plan for the 66 episodes, but then COVID happened.
Yeah.
So, we don't know. Like, the first 3 episodes had, like, really great budget, like, for animation, and then all of a sudden, once we were done, and we had the hiatus, it seemed that the animation quality deteriorated. Like, obviously it's still, like, fine. Like, you can watch
functional.
something that's... It's functional. But it is something that we can point out. But it isn't the sole thing that I pay attention to if I'm enjoying something or not. Like, you can be terribly animated, but have good substance. This just at the moment, so far, and for the last few episodes, doesn't really have as much substance as it could have. Yeah.
The writing is just so bare bones.
It really, like, just the degree to which we can't have characters... Outside of, I want Hikari back, I have no idea what anyone's motivation is. And even that's pretty flimsy.
Mimi is collecting gems,
and
that's all I care about.
But we should have time to sit and talk about, satellites moving to run into each other. Like, what? We're gonna crash the ISS. Apparently that's a problem for more than, 15 people.
Yeah, it's slow-paced, but at the start it was so fast-paced. Like, everyone was complaining that the show was too fast-paced at the start. We got Omegamon in episode 2, and then we just promptly got all the evolutions very quickly. It's very fast-paced in that regards, but also, we only just beat Devimon. Well, like, the show is
It's fast-paced in terms of the number of toys they're trying to sell us, but in terms of a story, there just isn't one. We needed to find the Holy Digimon. We did. Now we don't know why.
Yeah.
And we're still just...
Yeah, do we have any other predictions?
So my thinking on this is that what we probably will do is at least a few more episodes of this weird monster of the week where no one gets to talk. I think Yamato is going to get to Mega soon.
But not next episode, at least.
No, I think it'll be 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I am expecting them to do something that will introduce some more toys. Obviously, we're going to have the other kids' Mega Evolutions, and I expect the boys to get some kind of extra thing because they're the important characters.
I mean, I already know because of what's in the Digivice.
Sure.
But at the same time, the Digivice has only a few more things that we haven't seen in the show yet, which makes me
I think there is going to be around 2, because we are halfway through the show. We've got almost everything that was on the Digivice. It makes sense for there to be potentially even, like, an upgraded Digivice coming. Because it's Digimon, so I feel like we're really leaning hard into introducing as much merch as we can very, very fast. It's almost, I don't know, suspicious how much merch and how many different figures we're loading into one season.
I would argue that we haven't had that many figures yet. We had more in Atmon, and Atmon was really churning out the stuff. We've only really had the Digivice, which is pretty cool, but it's not a pedometer.
I mean, in terms of like sheer number of evolutions they've shown off, I would be curious. But looking at Tamers, it's a very much different ratio.
But the merchandise, they've only released like the Shoto figures, which are just like I think set 1 and set 2 have come out, and each of them have 3 figures. The first set has Wargreymon, Angelomon, and Garudamon, and then the second set has Metal Garurumon and 2 others that aren't Lilymon, I think. I can't remember the exact ones, because mine's not arrived yet. But I feel like there's not that much merch that they're really churning out for this season in particular. They are churning out other merch, but it's not Digimon Adventure branded. The Shoto figures and the Digivice, they are Digimon Adventure branded. But majority of the stuff that they're churning out is actually for the older viewers. We've got the Digivice version complete. Yeah, and the version complete doesn't have any colon in it. It is just the monsters that you fight in Adventure and in Kazuna as well, with the addition of Kazuna monsters.
Right, which is sort of my
But,
point
yeah,
that this show doesn't know what it wants to be or who it's advertising to, because it is trying to include a whole lot of Digimon and a whole lot of evolutions. I think mostly to like sell that Digivice toy and, you know, get figures, get people to buy some of the Gunpla, things of that nature that they are very much selling to the older audience. But
Yeah.
they are writing it for, I mean, frankly, I'd be insulted to show this to a 7-year-old.
I still would like to hear what like children are actually saying about this show without any prior knowledge. Like, this is their first Digimon show.
Definitely.
Like, I would love to know what they're thinking. Like, maybe they're just enjoying it because they just like the fact that it's moving.
Maybe,
Like,
but...
kids can watch Absolute Drivel.
You know,
Like,
kids will watch Absolute Drivel, but I also remember, like, my favorite shows, the ones I cared about, I still like today.
yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. I think kids are more discerning than people give them credit for, but that's a whole separate conversation.
Yep.
Anyway, what I think that they should do is go ahead, give us Where Gurumon, get us to where we were in, at basically at the end of Adventure. We still need to get Holy Angemon, I guess. And then I guess it's time to go into, you know, maybe do an evolution arc. You've got, 35 episodes for 7 kids? If you gave, 4 episodes to each kid to just do their own thing for a bit, you could really make something with that.
Yep, especially because the kids are separate at the moment.
They are, and as much as I don't think that that's a great thing, it is true, and you can use it from here.
Colin can definitely go in a good direction from here. Like,
It could.
I'm not going to damn the entire series.
I'm
Just
pretty
yet.
close to being willing to do that. I think it is very clear how little direction we have. We literally got to our current location by falling out of the sky and just moving in a random direction until we got here. And
But
none
we've
of the
had
kids
okay
have
episodes
agency.
since then. Yeah.
No one makes decisions in this show. We change world. The last time a person made a decision to like go to or from the digital world or go have an adventure was when they first went to the digital world a while back. Since then, it's all been reacting, and we haven't had the kids sit down and discuss what they all know and what they want to do. Because we want to fix
Yep.
Tokyo, I guess. That's nice, but that's not a plan. I don't know. I'm annoyed at this show.
There's not enough sitting
That
down.
is fair.
Yeah.
No, there's too much sitting down.
There's
because
both. We had a lot of sitting
half our
down
cast
and
sitting down.
Um,
I would like to see Taichi and Yamato sit down for a while,
I-
and then the other characters
feel-
be relevant.
I
They haven't
would like
done
to
that
see Taichi and Yamato
since, like,
get
mid
thrown off a
Pokemon.
cliff.
Yeah, I would love Taichi and Yamato just to not exist anymore.
Get them yeeted into
Like-
the dark ocean, and now we gotta go save them.
Like, one of my favorite episodes in the original adventure was Flower Power, because we did have some fight in that, but the main part of the episode was the kids interacting with their parents, and we haven't had any. I'm not going to include Taichi's mum in any interaction, because there's not been any interaction really there. She's just been forgetting her kids exist just about. In the original, we had Sora and her mother actually have some almost conflict, which is continuing on from the Crest of Love episode. We have Mimi's parents being the best. We have Koshiro starting to like actually confront his parents about being adopted, but then realizes that they're still his parents. It doesn't matter. He loves them and they love him. They're still...
How many episodes
Family.
has it been since Koshiro started saying, "Hey, I have something to tell you about my family"? And then has it been?
I think we've had like... Oh, that was like episode... like 18, I think?
Yeah, it's been
when-
quite a while since he got to talk about anything besides boats.
We had a brief parent thing, like Sora. We had like a screenshot of Sora's mum looking very Japanese style and looking very ashamed of her daughter and very upset that her daughter just went missing for 3 days, because of course you would. Like that, well, really, but
Duh.
she seems angry, but she's probably more worried and relieved, to be honest. But and that was a nice direction that we were going in for like a literal screenshot.
Yeah, it's such
But
a
I would like
weird-
more of that.
Yeah. Anyway, in terms of what I think we're actually going to do, we're gonna keep doing the Tai and Yamato show, because that's what we do around here on Digimon. I think we're gonna keep the separation arc up, and we're gonna keep focusing on Tai, and he's gonna keep being just the most important, and then sometimes someone else will get to evolve for a minute.
Something else I want. I want Hikari to actually just straight up be possessed by homeostasis since birth, and that's why she's kind of weird. Like, I don't want her to be weird for the sake of being the magical child. I want her to be weird because she's been possessed by God.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be... Like, I can totally, like,
I can relate
vibe
to
with
that.
that. Like, I want that. It's probably too good, though.
Yeah, that would be interesting. This is my sort of my most risky prediction, is that I do expect that when we do get a version 2, however they do it, whether they move on to the 0-2 kids or they introduce, armor evolutions or something, they are going to introduce some new gimmick, and I think everyone will get at least one more form beyond their mega.
The Digivice shows something like that, but there's one that's a weird surprise, and two others that I sort of saw coming.
Okay, well, I am gonna leave that alone. I'll let my prediction stand on what I've seen in the show.
Yep. And also, for anyone who's curious, I'm not saying it because a lot of people would probably consider it a spoiler. I'm not even sure if it's just a cameo on the Digivice toy or if it actually means anything, but it's all there on the Digimon Wikia for the Digivice colon. I won't be ever... until it's immediately relevant. Like, obviously, Millenniumon was in the Digivice. That's what... it's a spoiler I hinted at a little bit ago. We already know Millenniumon exists. He's in the episode title. But there are, like, a few other Digimon who I'm not saying their names that you can just see by reading the Wikimon for the Digivice colon.
Neat.
Yep.
Alright, I think that's what I have for an episode. This ended up being one of our longer ones, but, it's a special.
Yeah, like, definitely. We've not gone over 2 hours.
Well, we did have
for
to sum
any
up the whole of Digimon that is Rio.
We did.
I think last time I covered the WonderSwan games, I think it was only, like, 40 minutes?
That's fair. We got off topic
it was
a lot,
just
and
me
I think we
talking.
went into more interesting details.
Oh yeah, like last time it was just me reading the recap on the on TV Tropes, which took like 40 minutes, and Jay saying that is silly, because it is.
It is
the
all
Rio
very
stuff is very
silly,
wild.
but it's silly in such a way where any particular piece of it is just as silly as the whole of it. It is fractally silly, and I love it.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I do have some fun fact trivia to close up before we go into the outro, if anybody would be interested in that. There's only, like, 3 points, and they're very, like, I got busy. I was meant to fill this out with more trivia, but I can provide you with 3 points of trivia. First of all, in every non-English PAL version of Digimon World, the game couldn't be completed due to a bug, and the bug is that the player cannot access the Ogre Fortress or use the Mount Infinity teleporters, and because of this, they could not beat the game. That's a funny thing. It was fixed in the English PAL version, but that's funny. Also kind of sad. Like, imagine if you just got the game and you can't actually beat it because of a game-breaking bug.
Excuse me.
But yeah, these were the days before you could just do a patch because it was just on the PS1.
Well, it turns out these are the days when you can promise people a refund that Sony will not actually give.
Yeah. My next piece is that the Digital Monster version 1 was actually released on the same day and year as the Miku Hatsune classic, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone,
Nice.
June 26, 1997. Thank you, Miku, for your
We salute
your
Hatsune Miku's
literally
service.
Yeah. And the last part is something that we've touched on before, but a lot of Digimon canonically have some parts of other Digimon in their designs, and this is something that I didn't know. Ogamon's bone is apparently from Skull Greymon,
Huh, that makes
which
sense.
means he beat up a Skull Greymon,
That's dope.
which is baller. And obviously we've already seen that Zudamon's shell is from Archelomon, and we know that Metal Greymon originally was blue, and the blueness was because the metal on Metal Greymon is actually salvaged from other Digimon parts, other Metal Empire Digimon, and he was blue because imagine if you randomly start strapping parts of other people, like organs of other people, into you. Maybe they don't match, maybe you've got a different blood type or whatever, you get poisoned, you get infected. So the blue skin is actually to show that he is infected because he is grabbing parts from other Digimon that don't necessarily match him. So
he's blue
that's why
because
he was originally
shared
blue.
needles?
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of metal
Yeah,
for
so-
Digimon, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's very metal. That's why Metal Greymon. But yeah, and then obviously, so original Greymon is orange, but original Metal Greymon is blue.
That makes sense
But
now.
also looked far too evil. So when Metal Greymon actually became a character for a protagonist and not just a Digimon that just existed, they kept him keep his orange color. So it's just Greymon with successful metal transfusion, whatever. But yeah, so there's a bit of lore, and you might find that when you look at a Digimon, they might have parts from other Digimon, and then that is probably why they either beat them in battle or just salvage them from scrap metal. And you'll probably find that you'll see a lot of Digimon that have parts of other Digimon. Yeah, so there's just my my fun facts and trivia for this episode, just those 3 points. But just interesting points there, especially the Digimon World bug, which I can imagine so many people would have been
God.
annoyed by.
Yeah.
But yeah, does anyone else have any little facts or tidbits from the franchise?
Let's see.
Fun
as long as
fact.
Oh, go ahead.
Patamon is better than Tsukaimon.
That's true.
That is true. Fund it.
Yep. Let's see. Oh, due to my translating the original redigitize without knowing the way the files were written, it didn't say what character was speaking any given lines, so we'd just fill in pronouns and fix them later. But there is a Taumon who still uses he/him pronouns because we forgot to fix it later, and so I'm like, you know what, super here for it.
Also, there's a dub that had Iori as a woman.
That,
Like, everything was the same, except
oh right, it was
Iori
the Spanish
uses...
dub.
Yeah, I think it was the Spanish dub. Or maybe... I don't know if it was Spanish or if it was Latin America Spanish.
I think it was Latin America Spanish.
But anyway, they kept they didn't like edit any animation,
No, they just
but
Iori was a girl. It was great.
if you look at
What a
the if you look at the epilogue, Iori actually does look like, when Iori is an adult, actually looks like that they could be either. Like they could go either way. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
definitely there for that. But also it balances out the
Iori has
the
some
ratio.
non-binary goals.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a fun fact. And also, I think it's the Arabic dub, because they think evolution is a no-no. I mean, I could be wrong, it might not be the Arabic dub, but I know there's a dub. And instead of having evolution, they say, I'm calling for my cousin. And it'll be like instead of evolving, they're just summoning someone, but it's calling, so it's like,
to help out. That's great.
well, they know that they look alike, so they're like, I'm going to get my cousin, or calling my brother, or something.
Aniki.
And it is wild. And there's a lot of wild dubs. There's I think it's the Filipino English, like the Tagalog English, I think it is. It is English, but they use the Japanese music and the Japanese names. So there's lots of interesting dubs that I've come across in my time, and most of them are on YouTube. Especially the racing team. I think it's Finnish dub, which I think I mention this like every few months. So I guess it's that time of year again where I just mention this dub when they're just falling off the cliff, but none of the voice actors clearly care. So they're falling off the cliff and they go, and it is so funny.
I am going to give my personal shout out to, that's right, boy, Mondoku.
What?
Thank you, Vegeta.
Oh, I didn't watch that much Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z as a child.
I've not watched any.
Oh, okay. It's one of my favorite things from the dub because the character Krillin is explaining that a machine to heal Goku is Mondoku. And then Vegeta,
That's cool.
the really cool guy's internal monologue is he looks at the camera and thinks to himself, that's right, boys, Mondoku.
Wow, I love Shonen so much.
He's so extra.
Yeah, do we have any other bits of trivia or fun facts about Digimon, or can we wrap this up?
I have one last thing.
Yep.
I found Ryo Akiyama's Digimon fandom wiki page. It
Yep.
says, this article is a stub and it's missing information. What's needed? Rewrite everything properly.
Jeez.
What a mood.
Also,
My
his known
life.
relatives. Known relatives. Father, mother, and uncle. All of which lead to Paige does not exist.
That makes sense. That checks out.
Yeah, I guess that is the last thing we will say in regard to Rio is he does have parents in the games. They appear on screen, and then also in Tamers he has parents, and it is unclear if they can also universe hop or if he got new parents.
I think he got new parents. I think he just...
You know what?
I don't know. There's some...
Several kids in Digimon deserve new parents. Like current 2020 Itachi.
Or, like, Toma
ENIAC
needs a new
just making
family.
it happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, bad parents in the anime. And sometimes it's not... Are they bad parents, or is the writing bad? And I think, like, Koji and Koichi, their father's just
He's-
a toxic person.
Yeah, like he's definitely a lot worse in the dub, I think, but he's pretty trash.
Yeah, and also, like, Toma's racist family.
Let's see, they did tone down the Jury's dad being in the mafia.
Yeah. Well, I
Which
don't
I
think,
think
like,
that's
he
fair.
seems to be... I think he's more of an absent dad who decides to be better. Which, like, I think that's...
Well, yeah, like I said,
then
they
I'll
toned
give
it down.
a
It was
pass.
good.
Yeah, and all the parents in Atmon are great, especially Eri's mum. Still get emotional. Very big moment. But yeah, the
Wait.
families, there are some that need work.
Rio's in our war game?
Briefly, yeah.
We mentioned it. He's like in a mountain.
He's in Turkey, apparently.
Yeah, he's in Turkey in a mountain, which I think I mentioned that when we first started talking about Tag Tamers, is that it's inconsistent because in Tag Tamers, he's in Ken's room, he's in a room with Ken watching it on a computer, but in our war game, he's actually in the mountains in Turkey.
It's so
But
confusing.
yeah.
And we still haven't gotten into Sam, who kind of comes out of nowhere and just isn't in the games.
Yeah.
And Sam would be an interesting
At all.
character to get
Again,
information about.
that's another sort of case of like the writers of the Wonder Swan games and also the writers of the anime didn't communicate much, except for those two screens where we see Rio, apparently.
Yep, enough
But,
to
yeah, so-
confirm that all those games were in fact canon. That was it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically it. Unless we have any more tidbits.
I think we can
No
wrap
more
this
on
up.
Rio, please.
Oh, I was just going to say that he has bad fashion sense.
Oh, I don't know. I like his jumper that he's wearing in Anno Tamer, where it's just like this warm-looking, like woolen, brown jumper thing. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to our Wonder Swan and brief dive into lore territory, which the show does not want to do. Thank you, Quinn, for steering the plot ship that is Rio and Wonder Swan games. And thank you for joining me in general. And also thank you, Stevie, for also joining me. So next time we'll be covering episode 31, as the show will be back on, which is great. And the episode title is A New Darkness, Millenniumon. We already discussed predictions for what we expect in this episode, but we also covered predictions in our coverage of episode 30, which we recorded and released last week. So the link dump's in the description, and you can also find our Redbubble linked there too. You can get more than just shirts there as well. You can contact us and stay updated. We have an email address, lostintranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment us on this episode or message us on our website, lostintranslationmon.com. You can vote in polls, check our release schedule, and our blog posts as well. You can also follow us on @TranslationMon on Twitter, and you can find us on Lost in Translation on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We also have a thread on With the Will, and one on Reddit as well, in the Digimon subreddit. And we would appreciate any reviews on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and any podcast listening app you use, and we'll read them out on the show. You can also donate to our Patreon, which is also linked in the description, and you can do so from as little as $1 a month. $1 a month gets you access to our listener Discord server, but there are higher level small rewards. And thank you to our current supporters on Patreon, Joe, Stephen Reeves, who's a Wild64 on Archive of Our Own, Kadawashi, Chisai, who you can follow on Twitter @Chisai236, Kyle, Liz Met, who's a Lekmon on Tumblr, Nicholas, Metal Maimon, Sam, Anthony, Keith from Gone Will Hunting, a Hunter x Hunter rewatch podcast, Silverhead Freak 25, Magnus, Lucas, Blindman, and Japhus. And of course, you can also do a one-off donation on PayPal, which you found in the description as well. It's paypal.me/Airdramon, and you can also donate to my coffee account, ko-fi.com/Airdra. And a big one, once again, thank you to Quinn and Stevie for joining me, and Stevie, we're back on with the Moncast, which is exciting.
Yeah. And we
where
won't
you can
mention
also
Rio
find-
till he turns up.
Yeah, unless Quinn and I go rogue and start talking about Rio.
When Rio
It's
does
Rio.
show up, we're honestly just gonna want to put this in the show notes because I don't want to do this.
Yeah, we'll
again.
just say.
Nah,
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
just
just
copy
say
it
if-
across in its entirety.
Yeah, it's in entirety, all like
I'd be
2
fine
and a
with
bit
that.
hours of it.
I'll put it in the
But
outtakes.
yeah. Oh gosh, that's a long outtake. But anyway, so thank you so much for everyone listening, and we hope that you'll join us for the continuation of Colon next week, where we are finally introduced to Millenniumon, and we can see if this goes anywhere or if our predictions go anywhere. So yeah, we'll see you then. Bye!
Bye!